Hey guys, so we're in John chapter 20 today, close to the end. And this chapter of the Bible is why what Jesus did is called good news. It's good news because yesterday we read about the crucifixion, but John doesn't stop at verse 19 because Jesus did not stay in the grave. He is risen, he is alive. Amazing. Early on Sunday morning, it starts right off the bat. John 20, verse 1. Early on Sunday morning, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and found that the stone had been rolled away from the entrance. And she ran and she found Simon Peter and the other disciple whom Jesus loved. And she said, "They've taken the Lord's body out of the tomb and we don't know where they put him." They didn't know at that time that he had been resurrected. They didn't know. So the disciples go look. I love that it says that Simon Peter ran. Because remember where we left Simon Peter? Remember where we left Peter? He had denied Christ. I'm sure hope arose in Peter, because Jesus told them what was going to happen a lot. But I'm sure in that moment of circumstance, whoa, he was crucified. Whoa, he was laid in the tomb. Whoa, they're coming for us too. I'm sure in all that, they wanted the hope in Jesus' words, but I assume that they found it difficult to do so because of the circumstance that was staring them in the face. But I know hope arose in Simon Peter because he ran to that tomb. He ran to see what was going on. And so they do that. It says they still hadn't understood what the scriptures meant when Jesus said he had to rise from the dead. They didn't understand that yet, but hope arose. And then Mary, in verse 11, was standing outside the tomb crying. And as she wept, she stooped and looked in. And she saw two angels. That's awesome. One sitting at the head and the other at the foot of the place where the body of Jesus had been lying. "Dear woman, why are you crying?" "Because they've taken away my Lord and I don't know where they've put him." She turned to leave and saw someone standing there. It was Jesus. She didn't recognize him at first. But he said, "Why are you crying, dear woman? Who are you looking for?" I know Jesus was just so excited about the goodness that Mary was about to encounter. "Why are you crying? Who are you looking for?" She thought he was the gardener. That's funny to me. She didn't know who he was at first. "If you've taken him somewhere, tell me where you've put him." She was so desperate to find Jesus. "Mary," Jesus said. She turned to him and cried out, "Teacher." Mary. To hear Jesus whisper your name, Raina, whatever your name is. I came for you. I paid the price of sin on your behalf. I said it is finished, and now here I am alive. I'm alive. I love that he just spoke her name, and she knew him immediately. I hope that we get to know Jesus so well that just the whisper of our name, we just melt at that. To know that he knows our name. He died on our cross, but he didn't stay there. He didn't stay in the tomb. He rose again, and he wants us to be free. He gave Mary the most incredible assignment. So he gave Mary the assignment to be the first person to tell the good news. Don't you just love that about Jesus? Because, in that day, in that specific group of people, in that time period and in their culture, that women weren't even allowed to testify in court. Their testimony wasn't considered reliable enough to be a witness in a court case. And you think Jesus cares about that? Jesus gave Mary the first assignment to go and tell the good news. He is risen. So he tells her to go find my brothers, he says, and tell them that he's ascending to the Father. What a great thing. It just encourages me so much that Jesus has an assignment for all of us. And I don't care what anybody else says about it. If Jesus has an assignment for you, Jesus has an assignment for you. It's a good assignment. And it doesn't matter if anyone else in your life says you can't do that, you're not qualified, you're not good enough, you're not talented enough, you're not smart enough, you're not blank, 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 blank. Doesn't matter. if Jesus has something for us to do, it's a good thing and we can do it. Because remember, Jesus doesn't tell us to do anything that we can't do. So that just encourages my heart so much. And then verse 19, Jesus came and Jesus revealed himself. And through the rest of the chapter, he reveals himself to his disciples. And then, there was a fellow named Thomas who said, I'm not going to believe unless I can touch his wounds in his hands, touch his wounds in his hands and the wounds in his side. I'm not going to believe until that happens. So this fella just needed concrete proof. Well, you know what Jesus does? Jesus gives him the proof that he needs. I know many times in my own life, I've asked for maybe confirmation for things so much, probably exhausted Jesus. I just couldn't make that leap of belief. I couldn't come to that place of really just believing. And Jesus, I look back, has been so patient with me. And I see it in him with Thomas too. He was so patient with Thomas. And he gave Thomas what he needed to get to the next step. He gave Thomas what he needed. He said to Thomas, put your finger here and look at my hands. Put your hand into the wound in my side. Don't be faithless any longer. Believe. And Thomas did believe. And then this is what he says to Thomas. You believe because you have seen me. Blessed are those who believe without seeing me. And you and I haven't seen Jesus. We weren't there when he lived, but we believe. And Jesus says we're blessed. We're blessed because we just believe him, even though we haven't seen him. So, good news. And then you know what it says? The disciples saw Jesus do many other miraculous signs in addition to the ones recorded in this book. But they are written so that you may continue to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing in him, you will have life by the power of his name. What a great sentence to write on an index card this week and really memorize that. These things are written down for us so that we can continue to believe, so that we may continue in our faith, continue in our journey with Jesus, continue believing in him, that he is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that by believing in him, we will have a life by the power of his name, because he didn't stay in the tomb. He rose again. John 20. Yes. I'll see you tomorrow.